Boss move. Now that's a boss move. Boss move. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, NAOMI GREENLEE. Let's go. Let's go. Yes, you can do all that God has for you. Yes, you can have all that God's planned for you. Now that's a boss move. That's a boss move. Now that's a boss move. That's a boss move.
Well, I am so happy and so excited to have you here at the Boss Moves with NAOMI talk show. Yes. Well, I want to welcome you all to the show. And you know, it's such a beautiful day. You could have been anywhere today, but you decided to be here with me. And I totally appreciate that. And you, I believe, will enjoy this show today. We have some exciting things going on. I have a very exciting guest today that I am super excited to have in our presence today. So, and I want you to get your questions ready for this, because if you have money questions, I believe he has money answers, all right? So we're going to get started. You know, at the beginning, I always talk about, you know, inspiration. I want to be inspirational because I want to inspire you to do something, to do more, to be more. Because I am a firm believer that yes, you can be, you can do, and you can have all that God has planned for you. And that, my friend, is a boss move. All right, so today I'm talking about inspiring you to, I know planning is a good thing. I'm not, you know, definitely, I always say, ink it, don't think it. You could think about it, but I need you to put it down on paper, right? But then it gets to a time where you need to stop planning your next move and start doing your next move. Is that all right? Yes. Yes. So if you have a plan, that's good. But I need you to now make your next move. That's the most important thing. See, some people don't get started because they're afraid. They're afraid they may fail. But I'm saying you got to get those failures out of the way. So you definitely want to do that as well. But then some people just may be lazy and don't want to get started, right? So I'm sure I don't have any of those in this room today. None of the lazy ones. But here's the one important thing. You know, I heard there was an IQ test that they used to have. And in this IQ test, there were like 9 dots. But you had to draw 5 lines to connect the dots. That's the way you had to do it, 5 lines to connect the dots. But you know what? Many people couldn't do it. You know why? The answer was that they had to draw outside of the box to make them connect. So sometimes you have to step outside of the box. I think about Peter. Sometimes you got to step out of the boat, right? People talk about, yeah, Peter sank, and when he looked off, but guess what he did? It's something you and I never did do. He walked on water. He walked on water because he stepped outside of the boat. Sometimes you got to step outside the box. Sometimes you have to step out of the boat, out of your mixture of people, and you step out and you make it happen. You know, anybody heard of Les Brown? Anybody heard of Les Brown? He gave an analogy of a man on his dying bed. And around his dying bed were ghosts. And these ghosts were really angry with him. And they were the ghosts of talent, the ghosts of possibilities, the ghosts of just everything that he could have done. And they were very angry with him. And they said, you know what? You were supposed to bring us and give us life. You were supposed to do something with us. But guess what? Now we have to go to the grave with you. See, there's a graveyard out there filled of talents, possibilities, and just things that people were going to do, about to do, getting ready to, fixing to, finna, whatever you say, they were about to do these things, and they took it to the grave. See, the world is waiting on you. Believe it or not, while you're still planning, they have already created about 6 different iPhones implemented. Why are we still planning? Sometimes it's time to go ahead and make a boss move. You've got to do some things to make things happen. People are waiting on you. They need to hear you. They need to see you. They need to be a part of whatever it is that you're doing. So definitely don't forget to not just plan, but now it's time to make your next move. Who's ready to make a move? All right. I hope you took something out of that and plan to make your next move, because that is so important. We don't want you to forget that. So now we're going to move forward. We're going to move forward into the next part of the show here that I have. And usually I would go into my financial side. But you know what? I have a finance man in the room, so I dare not touch that. Because I think, and I do believe, that he knows just a little bit more than I do about that. So, so we're going to leave that part to him. And when I come back, we're going to go into, anybody want to be healthy? You want to be healthy? Right. You want to eat healthy. You want to think healthy. I'm all about health. I need your finances healthy. I need your mind healthy, your body healthy. I need your relationships healthy. Everything needs to be healthy and a balance. There's called a balance in life that you got to have. So now our next section we're going to go into is going to be about the health of our body. And I'm going to mix up something right here before you. And I'm going to have some brave souls to come. Just a few brave souls to taste what I'm about to do. You got any few brave souls? Well, when I bring it up, I'm going to, have you to be ready. All right? All right, thank you. And the next section will be about your health. This is the Boss Moves with Naomi talk show. Excited that you are here on this portion because this is where I talk about being healthy. Anybody here, like I said, anybody here want to be healthy? Anybody want to be healthy? And I'm going to help my assistant to kind of get me plugged in. Can't do this by osmosis. You might want to pull me back a little bit, whatever it takes. So I'm going to, have a few people 4 people. I'll need 4 people to try this. Anybody willing to try this? This smoothie. We got 2 right there. We have 1 right there. We got a 4. It'll be a smoothie. This is a healthy smoothie. And a lot of times there are different things you can use in this smoothie. Many times I'll use like very vanilla, but it's always something straight, healthy fruit, vegetables, and also soy milk or something like that, not dairy. So nothing up here is going to be dairy product. Now let me give you a quick tip on how you can make the smoothie cold without ice. So what I do is I freeze my bananas. So these are frozen bananas. And so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and get started with this. Have my little blender here. Simply get some frozen bananas. And as I mentioned, many times I'll use the milk, but today I'm actually going to use a little water. So does this look healthy already? Because we have water and bananas, nothing bad yet, right? So we haven't started in anything bad. So because these are frozen, I won't need any ice. And so you need your power greens, right? This is spinach and kale. So this is a mixture of something very powerful to put in your body. How many of you think it's very, very, very important? If you're going to be talking about money and making money, you need to be here long enough to enjoy it, right? So you need to have some good healthy stuff going in your body. As we drive down the street, there's so many options that we can have that's going to be bad for us, right? That taste good too. I'm not going to lie to you, it tastes good. Everything that's good to you is not good for you though. I need you to know that. All right, so is this simple enough so far? We're doing something really simple. Everybody can do this, right? All you guys out there, you don't have to cook, but you can definitely impress that young lady in something healthy. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I might need my son. I have one in here who's really health conscious, and he kind of got me started on this. See, I usually always make mine with just water, but as I mentioned, he make his with milk. So right now, I'm going to ask him to come and do this part for me because I have 2 different mixers that I use. This one gives me a little trouble. So I'll have him to do that, to get that started. Press that down for me, and to get that started. Okay. This is very simple, very quick. Okay. All right, just a little bit of mixture there. And I'm going to do something a little extra special for you. So I'm gonna put a few of these berries in here. I could have mixed them in, but I want you to taste it and have a little something extra. It's a little extra treat in here. See, a lot of people, when they see this shot glass, they think of something else. No, I got another shot for you. I got a healthy shot for you. But teach you something else to do with that shot glass. Okay, you're a little stronger than me. Come on. I need help, right? That's why I got these boys here. All right. So we're just going to pour a little bit in here. And you all saw how healthy that was that I mixed up, right? Everything right before your eyes. All right. So if you can come up here and you know what? Just come up here and grab one and taste it for me. I had 4 volunteers. You want me to bring it to you, right? Not happen. So keep in mind you can do it different ways. And the next time I do it, just whoever comes up first, get that first one. I'll go ahead and pour them a little quicker. And you'll taste that it is cold. So thank you so much. Oh, I got some good help. I love that. Love that. I gave you a big one because I want to give you a shot. You know how you go in, I think it's one of those stores that you can go in and they actually give you like a green shot behind it. Well, this is something you can do at home. Put that power shot in there. And you notice I didn't put any honey or sugar. The banana is what keeps it tasting really sweet. And we have one more. Oops, I made that a little messy. Sorry. Okay, so this is a power drink in a shot glass. Good things can come in small packages, huh? There you go. So that is how you make a pie. How does that taste? Pretty good, very healthy. And did you see I didn't use any bad ingredients? And you can sit at home and actually, you know, I do have a lot more. So afterwards I can let a few more people, were there a few more people wanted to try it? Anybody else? Now that you see it's a smile on their face and they didn't feel like, okay, so I'm going to ask one of my assistants, can I call you assistant today? And give me a couple more shot glasses. And we're going to let 2 more people, we'll let a few more people try it. So there you go. See, I like what you do with the little pinky up. You see? There you go. All right. Girl after my own heart. So we're going to have you to taste this. But I love doing this part. You definitely always want to come to the show and see what's healthy and what's the latest healthy thing to taste. And it's always, and I promise you this, it's always going to taste good. Another promise I will make you, it will always be healthy for you. So these are things that you can take home and actually do them yourself. There you go. Got a couple more. I didn't know I was going to have so much left. And you're getting strawberries, you're getting spinach and kale. Come on. You know I'm not, oh now him, you don't have to bring it for him because I saw him come in on crutches. So I will be nice to the one on crutches. So you can take him this as well and something you all can do at home, okay? There you go. All right, well that's the healthy section. All right. So if you're just tuning in, I want you to know you're tuning in to Boss Moves with Naomi Talk Show. And we just did our health section. We're very excited because I know I just fed you well. All right. So our next section, be ready for this because I'm so excited about our next guest. And he is going to be just filled with information that you need. Get your questions ready. Get ready to take down some information. And let's go. Boss Moves with Naomi Talk Show. All right. Now we're here for the most important part, you guys. I'm so excited about this. I have a guest with me today, and I really want you to get your questions ready. I know you have them. Or if you think of them while he's here. I have with us today the Senior Vice President of the Texas Trust Credit Union. So if he's in the midst and over money like that, I think he has a few answers for us, right? So we're going to call to the front of the room this awesome, most powerful young man, Mr. Ron Smith. Let's give it So happy to have you. Mr. Smith, we are so happy. Let's just have a seat. Let's talk, Mr. Smith.
Yes,
I'm so excited and happy to have you here to just like share some information with us. See, this is a Boss Moves with Naomi talk show. So I only invite people I think who are making boss moves. All right, so definitely you sitting in the boss moves seat now.
I appreciate it.
All right, all right. So one of the things I usually like to do is I like to make sure that I hear, because you know there's a story. Everybody has a story. You believe that? Everybody has a story. And it has led them to where they are today. And I like to share other people's story because their story is probably somebody's story in the audience that didn't make a boss move. But it's not too late as long as they're living and breathing, right?
That's right.
So I want to hear, Mr. Smith, I know you are the Senior Vice President of Texas Trust Credit Union.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to hear your story. Like, tell us what got you where you are today, those boss moves you made.
Well, so I don't bore you guys all day because I could tell you a whole lot of stories. I will say that, you know, I did about 8 different things before I got into financial industry. I went to school to be in banking. And then when I got out of school, I decided that it was going to be too difficult. So I decided to do a whole bunch of other stuff. I worked for the state of Texas. I worked for a jewelry company. I worked for retail. I did like a Target thing. And nothing was really working out. You know, I just kept kind of hip-hopping from one job to the next. And, you know, it just wasn't, you know, I was making good money. I was making decent money. But, you know, I just wasn't really saving any money, just doing, you know, just day to day. And then one day there was an ad in the newspaper for Nations Bank for an assistant branch manager at Nations Bank. And I said, well, I can do this. I can be an assistant branch manager at Nations Bank. And I called them up, and they had said, well, you know, the ad that you looked at in the newspaper, this is back when people looked in newspapers for jobs.
Right, back in the day.
Back in the day. So I called them up, and they said, you know, well, it sounds like you're qualified, but that newspaper you're looking at might be a week or two old because we filled all those positions.
Okay.
So I was real depressed, and, you know, I used to run a lot, so I got the clothes on, I started running, and I thought, you know, Lord, what did I do wrong? You know, was I 1 week late? Was I what happened? And so I went to work the next day. I was working at a jewelry company, and they called me. This guy, never forget his name, this guy's name Myron Smoot, and he called me. I left his number. I said, yeah, let me give you my number just in case you ever need me. You know. So the very next day he called me. He said, you know what? It must be your lucky day. Somebody didn't pass the background check. Can you come see us in the next hour?
Wow.
And so I said, I'll be there in 30 minutes. So I drove downtown Dallas, and they offered me a job. The job they offered me was making about $10,000 less than what I was already making.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, well, I can't take this kind of pay cut. I wasn't making that much money anyway. So I said, well, can I get a day to think about it? Let me go home and talk to my wife. And he said, sure, but we got to move fast. So I went home, I called my dad up, and I said, you know, they want me to take this pay cut. What do you think? And he said, can you afford to take it? I said, it's going to be real tight. It's going to be real tight. And he said, if you think that this is what the Lord wants you to do, you do whatever you can to take that job.
All right.
So I got my clothes back on, started running around the block again. I must have ran 5 miles that night. I ran and ran and ran. I came back home, I walked in the door, and I told my wife, I said, I'm taking that job. And she said, we can't afford it. And I said, somehow we will. Somehow we'll afford it. Took that job, and within 6 months, I was making more money than I was making the previous job. Within 3 years, I was making double the money that I was making.
Woo.
Because the Lord put me in the spot that I was supposed to be in.
All right, you are hearing this, right? Take
So
notes,
there's
take
my
notes.
story.
Wow. That's an awesome story. You guys think that's an awesome story. Woo. So you got to move in time, not behind time, not before time, but if you move with the times, it's amazing what can happen in your life.
And if you move when he tells you to move.
Right.
Oftentimes what we do is we make moves, or we try to make boss moves without thinking about him.
Right.
And so if you keep him in mind and you listen to him, you'll make your boss move.
Yes. All right. I like that end of there. I'm going to put that twist on there. So, and also, Ron, I know you, so you mentioned, do you have any children as well?
I have two boys. I have a son that is a graduate from a technical institute and is a mechanic here in Dallas. And I have another son that just graduated at the University of North Texas last year and is just got his first job, praise God, at an advertising agency.
All right, all right. That's good for him, good for him. So I'm sure they're following after their dad's leading.
Yeah,
As best they can, okay.
I guess so. You know, they're about where I was when I was 27,
Okay.
23 years old.
Okay.
They're on the path, but you know, it
They
takes
have
a
to
while.
have their own
and it's their life.
experiences,
It's
their own
life.
journey.
Yeah, you know, my boss move can't be their boss move.
That's right.
You know.
That's right. That's why I always say, yes, you can be, you can do,
Mm-hmm.
and you can have all that God has planned for who? For you.
That's right.
Not somebody else.
That's right.
It's got to be for you. So let me ask you a few questions. I know you are into financing, and a lot of people have questions about saving, about spending, about investing. So what would you say is the most important thing that an individual needs to know about, let's say, investing first?
Probably the most important thing you need to know about investing is that it works.
Okay.
You know, is that, you know, people are afraid of what they don't know. Do your own, get your own knowledge, get your own education out there. There's all sources out there now with the internet, and understand everything that's on the internet is not true.
Right.
You know? But, you know, you can find and you can do your own research and find out investing and make very safe choices. But you have to do your own education. You know, a lot of times people will come to you and say, well, investing is in some type of stock in a electric company. And they say, oh, well, we got this electric company, somebody that knocked on your door, some friend of yours that tells you, well, we can do this. And that's not investing. That's a
Okay.
pyramid scheme.
Okay.
You know, investing means that you're going to a broker and you're buying something. You're buying stock in a company. And there are major companies in this country that you can buy stock in, and they're very solid. You know, one of the biggest companies out there now is Apple. So if you would have taken $100 in 2006 and put it in Apple stock, just $100. If you take $100 and put it in Apple stock in 2006, you got $10,000.
Wow.
But in 2006, it was before the iPhone. It was before the release. The iPhone came out in 2007. So you had to do the research in that company to understand that this is a company that's going to be on the move. And you take that $100 and you put it there, or $50. That $50 would have got you $5,000.
Wow.
We typically, you know, just don't do our research to make ourselves feel comfortable. Knowledge is power.
Right. That is so true. So tell us, where is the best place to at least look to see where you can find that type of information so you can get yourself in touch with a Apple?
There's all kinds of different things on the internet that you can get now, even just like Yahoo Money, MSN Money. You can go to Bloomberg. There is a Wall Street Journal. I mean, if you can just do the Wall Street Journal on, you don't want the paper to come delivered to your door every
Right.
day, but you have an electronic version of the Wall Street Journal. You read that and you get good news, you'll get sports, you'll get other news, but when you read the Wall Street Journal, you get a financial spin on everything. You get to understand, and you start understanding that there is a hidden recipe out there. It's not hidden because other people don't want you to have it. It's hidden because you don't know where to find it.
Oh, that's the thing. So I guess the best place to look, would you say, if we went online, is there a site that's the best place to look to try to get started with your research, or where should you start your research?
You can just, like I said, there's no specific, I don't want to label one specific place,
Right, I get
because they all have an angle. Don't get me wrong, any website's going to be selling you something. You know, so once again, you have to do your own education. You have to look at multiple websites. Don't look at one website and that website say, hey, go buy corn.
Right.
Because the corn manufacturer, maybe the industry, might be the one behind that
Behind
website. So you have to do your own research. I never tell somebody to go to one source of truth, because there's not one source of truth. Well, there is one source of truth.
Source of truth.
But there is not one source of
For
truth when
money.
it comes to the internet. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We got that straight. He fixed it real quick, because I was looking at him, corner my eyes. There he is. You okay? So I'm really excited about that type of information. Now let's talk a little bit about saving. Because
Sure.
you know, a lot of people do not want to do that or find it hard to do. What's the best habit to form to get your savings up?
Well, you know, people say, and my wife's parents used to tell her, that tomorrow's not promised to you. She was raised in a house where tomorrow's not promised to you, why save? And I always say, Tomorrow's not promised to you, but you better save like it is.
Oh.
Because if you don't, it can hurt you, you know. And so the thing about saving is, it's once again, to me, it's biblically based. It's 10% to the Lord first, 10% to yourself, and then 80% to your bills.
Okay.
What people typically do is they pay their bills first, they run out of money, they don't pay themselves, they don't pay the Lord, and then at the end of the month, the end of the week, they have no money.
Right.
Pay
right.
the 10% to the Lord because he's the one who gave that to you to begin with. Pay yourself 10%, at least 10%. Start with 10%. And if you can't start with 10%, start with 2%.
Okay.
Pay the Lord 10, pay yourself 2. And then the next time when you get a raise, you get a 3% raise, pay that 3% to yourself. Don't go buy a car. Don't go buy the house. Don't go on vacation. We spent a lot of years with a raggedy car. A lot of years with no vacation. My vacation was Six Flags.
Okay.
You know, so because I wanted to save more money.
Right.
Save more money. But if you put the Lord first and put yourself second, and a lot of people I think put the Lord first, they forget to put themselves second. They put the MasterCard second. You know, they put the Visa second. You know, and my pastor at church says MasterCard is really MasterCard.
MasterCard.
You know, because you are a slave to that card.
Right.
Whatever you get paid back to that card. You know, the Visa card is the voluntary indentured servant card.
Uh-oh.
That is your account that you have charged so much onto that you have to pay them. So you pay Visa and MasterCard more than you paid yourself for some item that you don't even remember that you had.
Right.
So if you put the credit cards down, put money in the bank and leave it there, it is okay.
Well, I hear you talking about being disciplined.
It is discipline.
Yeah.
It's just like you were talking about with the healthy eating.
Right.
And the favor, it's got to be discipline.
Right. That is so true. Got to add it in there. So that discipline. So I'm hearing discipline for savings and research for investing. And so what other techniques or tips can you give us on just an individual? Let's say we have a young couple, all right? And they're starting out, they already bought their home. So what should they be doing? Because my mind always goes to emergency funds.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit
Well,
about
now
that.
the first thing, and you haven't mentioned this, but a lot of people, you know, and I always mention this when I talk to people, because people will say, well, it's all great for that guy to talk about this because he makes this. He must make X amount of money. He must make, we talk about investing, we talk about saving. The first thing you got to do is make some money. Right? You have to be on the right job, like I said, making some money. If the employer that you're at is not paying you, take a chance. Go out there and find something else. You know, a lot of times we work somewhere, we may be making $35,000, $40,000, $45,000 and we're working hard. But the employer that we're working at may not be paying us for what we're worth. But we don't want to make that boss move and find a new job. We don't want to make that boss move and say, I need a new position. And so we end up making 41, 42, 43. You get a 3% raise every year for 20 years, and you still only go to $60,000. And so then when somebody's still up there talking to you about investing, it never resonates to you because you never really thought you made enough money. And so the first thing you got to do is make the money.
Right, right. I agree 100% because while that 3% raise, sometimes inflation has gone up.
Yeah, you just staying even.
You staying even.
Yeah,
Inflation kind of matches that.
You know, so you get a second job, you get another job, you do whatever you need to do. But the very easiest thing to do is to participate in your company's 401k plan.
You hit the nail on the head. Took
Yeah,
the words out of my mouth.
Your company's 401k plan, that company has already done the research for you. They've already got a set of stocks and bonds in that portfolio in there. All you got to do is put your money in there. Right? They've already done all the research, but a lot of people don't realize even what a 401k is, don't understand how it works. And then when they put the money in there, they say, oh, well, that ain't no money. It's $3. It takes a long time to make $3 multiply. But if you start putting in $100, you start putting in $500, $1,000, you do start seeing that money multiply. It takes time, but it is amazing how little people put in their 401k that their employer sponsors. And
I will give a tip on this because this is personal experience. If you are employed by someone who has a 401k, I want to encourage you 100% to take part of that, especially if they are a company that matches your money, because that's going to really benefit you. When they match, they're giving, that's free money for you.
That is free money. I mean, they're giving you, they'll say, like, if a company matches 5% of your paycheck, so basically what they're doing is paying you 105%. So if you say, no, I don't want that, you're just turning them down money, right? So they want you to put $5 in so they can put $5 in. Well, that's a great deal for me. you know. But for some reason we say, well, we'll get to it. We'll do it next year. We'll do it the year after that. Something always comes up. But once again, what we do is we don't manage our debt. So when something comes up and we need a car, we go buy the car.
Right.
When something comes up and we need to go buy the new house, we go buy the new house.
Mm-hmm.
But when something comes up, we don't say, you know what, I've got to put my money here. We always have a reason for not saving so we can go spend.
Right.
And we've got to flip that around. You got to flip around and say that I want to save 5% and spend 1%. It's not easy. It's a disciplined approach. But the easiest thing to do is start with your 401k.
That is so easy. And also max it out. Whatever amount they allow you to put in, max that out. And as I say, I'm talking from experience. I spent almost 30 years on a job. I maxed it out. And when I walked away being able to buy my house cash. So I don't have a monthly payment on a house note. Because this is something I thought about when I was in my 20s.
Sure.
So this is something you want to think about now. Don't think about, you know, oh, I could use that, or I can use that money for this or that. No, you're saving that money and you're matching it. Because you can get along, you know, without using that money. God will provide. God provides. Right? Anybody know that song? It's a beautiful song. I'll listen to it. But you know what? That's so important. And I really want, you know, wanted us to hit that really hard, because there are a lot of people here been on their jobs for like 3-4 years and have not started one time in that 401k. I cannot for the life of me understand that one.
Man, we have, my wife works for the state of Texas. They match 5%. And she has people that she's been there for 28 years. And she has people that work for her, but work for the state of Texas for 28 years and never start a 401k. And when you start doing the math behind what their salary has been over 28 to 30 years, and not only the 5% they should have been putting in, but the 5% the state put in, then you have years like we've had in the last 10 years where we've had double-digit returns. You know, meaning that the stock price on the stock has moved 10%, 12%, 15%. Just in the last 10 years, you have missed out on $100,000.
See?
Just by putting your 5% in from your $25,000 and the state putting in their 5%, over the last 10 years, you'd have had $100,000. But we have people that have never started it because they needed that 5%. Knowing that 5%, you don't even get it. Because if you don't put that 5% in, it gets taxed by the government. That 5% returns into 3.5%. So that's the thing about the 401k. When you put the 5% in, it goes in before taxes.
Right.
If you don't put the 5% in, you get taxed 28 to 30% on the 5% that you didn't put in. So you don't save 5%, you bring home 3.5%.
Yeah.
So you didn't get your 5% and the government's 5%, the 10%, because you wanted your 3. It doesn't make any sense.
You know what that sounds like? You trying to save a dime, but you're losing $1.
You said, you are constantly behind.
Constantly.
You are constantly behind.
So we can stop being a day late and $1 short?
A day late and $5 short.
$5 short. All right. I mean, really, I'm hoping someone's getting something out of that, and by Monday that they're going to go and start that, right?
And if you can't put in 1%, 2%, like I said, just start. Start. Put in whatever the company minimum is. Start.
Right.
Start and say, I am not going to touch this money, and just leave it alone. There's power in compounding. There is power in compounding.
And you won't miss that. I mean, you know how I always think about this. If you go out and you're purchasing, and at lunchtime you're spending 5 here, 5 there, 5 here, 5 there. Do you know how much you could have put in that 401k? That's when I started taking my lunch to work.
But you can take your bananas. Take your bananas and your kale and spinach to work,
right?
And don't go to Chick-fil-A, and then put that money in the 401k.
There you go. That's what I did for almost 30 years. Okay, somebody say, nope, I gotta have my chicken. But that's exactly how I thought when I was, in school. That's in working, is to put away some, because one day I'm going to need that. Sure. And I'm going to want that. And I'm one of those, I don't know about you, but I'm allergic to bills. I'm just allergic. I don't like having bills, right? So I try to eliminate as many as I can. I know, you can't eliminate everything because of utilities. They just got their lockdown on me. But you can eliminate something when you are saving money now, and it's going to pay off so much more in the end. And I'm trying to show you, I'm an example. I am an example of what can happen if you do that. If you go ahead and save and put in the 401k and get that match.
Yeah, and the government, if you know the history of the government and what our government has done, 20 years ago, debt was you could take a tax deduction on debt. So if you got $5,000 worth of interest on your credit card, you could write that off, and they got rid of that. And it used to be if you bought a car and you did it for work, used it for work purposes, you could write that off. They got rid of that. They just changed, now the standard deduction went up, so most people that have a mortgage, your mortgage interest is not as much as the standard deduction, so they basically just got rid of the mortgage interest. So the government over the last 10, 20 years, about every 5 years, has gotten rid of any reason to have debt. And the reason they continue to do that is because the United States loves it. We love it like it is Chick-fil-A. We can't get enough of debt, but we don't have people saving. So now what the government says is, you know what? Go ahead and save, and we'll cut your taxes. Save X, and we'll cut. And they keep making it more. When you can save $15,000 in your 401k, now you can save 20. Now you can save 25. They keep moving the savings rate up because they want people to save, because that's exactly what we don't do. But we turn around and we go to debt. You get no tax break for debt anymore, and you get the tax break actually to save.
Wow. Are we listening to this? Some things have changed. We need to know that. That's why we have you in this chair today.
Some things have changed.
So that's really good to know. Now, I know, what about those who don't have a job and they are their own boss?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and the 401k is not available to them in that aspect.
Well,
what would you recommend?
If 401k is not an aspect, when you need to, and you are your own boss, you got your own business, you need to go to whatever your bank is, if you have a main bank, or even to your credit union. I'm a credit union guy, so I got to mention the credit union movement. But go to your bank or to your credit union, and they can set you up with different type of investment vehicles, basically your IRAs. So you can start your own IRA. You can start your own brokerage fund. You can start your own, basically, 401k without having to have a company sponsor. There are different things that small business owners can get into, but you have to go through a bank, go through a credit union, go through an investment advisor. If you just go and just say, well, I'm gonna put $100 in this account, I'm gonna put $200 in the account, that's good, but you don't get any of the tax benefit from it. A lot of what I tell people is you wanna make sure that you get the tax benefit, because the tax benefit is crucial. When you are at the 28% tax bracket or the 30%, 33% tax bracket, that's real money. So if you put $100 in your checking account and say that I'm saving, I'm putting $100 in my savings account, and I say that I'm saving, but I take that same $100 and I put it in a brokerage account, and the brokerage account shields it from my 33% that I would have paid the government, then my $100 becomes $133, and you still have 100.
Watch out. Something new I'm about to do. All right, so we learning anybody learning some things? Yes. You learning some things? I don't see any pens and pads. Okay, there we go. What I always say, ink it, don't think it. Now, you're not gonna remember this when you leave. I need you to write this stuff down. So that's so exciting to know, because I didn't know that. I'm really gonna have to get into that. And you at Texas Trust Credit Union. Is that a good place for me to
It's a great
bring
place.
it?
It's a great place.
How did I know you would say that?
It's a great place. I've been there for 12 years. It's a great place.
Wow, okay, must be pretty good. So give us some little tips. Like, I know I always encourage people to get a savings, like an emergency fund. What amount would you say is a good amount of emergency fund for individuals?
Well, now, once again, you can go to the internet, and you go to the internet is going to tell you that you need to have 9 months of your salary in a savings account. So if you do the math, you make $50,000, 9 months, about $50,000, that's $35,000. That's a lot of money for somebody to be sitting in a savings account. I would never tell anybody to put $35,000 and you make $50,000, which is a good salary. But if you make $50,000 and you got $35,000 sitting there, then you have dead money. Because in a savings account, you're not making any money. Right. So you just want to make sure that you have enough money in a savings account where you can get past 2 major life events. Major life events. Most people don't have enough savings account to get past 2 major life events. My car stopped and I need to get a new one, right? What's the down payment for a new car? I need to, my family lives in New York, and I need to fly to New York tomorrow, and I need to pay for somebody's funeral. How much money is that? Whatever two major life events you think that you might have, and all of our major life events are different. If you have elderly parents, then your major life events are going to be circled around them. If you have kids, then your major life events may be circled around them. Whatever that amount is, you need to make sure that you have that in liquid cash in a savings account, so you don't have to go touch that MasterCard.
The MasterCard? Okay. So I always encourage people to have at least about 6 months of their rent or house mortgage payment in the bank in case something happened to their job or whatever.
6 months somewhere put up.
Somewhere
I
put
wouldn't
up.
necessarily say once again in the bank, because I would rather you
safe in your
I would
house,
rather
maybe?
you have I would rather you have 4 or 5 months in your 401k
Okay.
than 6 months in a savings account that's only paying you 1%. If you have 6 or 7 months, let's say you make $50,000, you got $25,000 in your 401k, you can always borrow that money from yourself, right? So instead of going to that card, you can go right back to your HR representative, borrow that money from yourself. It's going to charge you some interest. It's probably going to be 3 or 4%. It's going to be low interest, but guess who you paying? You paying it back to you.
Now, you know what? That is so true. I did it. I actually did that. I had my money in the 401k. I needed a car. I pulled out the money to purchase my car so I wouldn't have a note. And I was paying myself back. So yeah, definitely. 401k, put the money there again. So what else? No.
But it is good to have liquid money. Like I
Okay.
said, it is good to have liquid money. You just don't want to be so obsessed with having money just sitting there, because money that's in a bank account is just dead money.
Right.
Unless you have it in, even a CD. CD rates right now, we have a great CD rate at 3%.
3%? Okay.
But even a great
Okay.
CD rate at 3% is very small. If you had money in the market in the last 60 days, now this is abnormal because the last 60 days have been really good. It was horrible at the end of last quarter. It was horrible. People were losing money left and right. The last 60 days, the market has shot back up. And if you had money in the market in the last 60 days, let's say you put $500 in the market in December, you may have doubled your money already. The market in the last 60 days has been tremendous. If you have $500 in a CD, you got $515. I got 1,000, you got 515. Once again, it's not just about savings, it's about where you putting it.
Right.
Because if you don't put it somewhere where you're at least making 3%,
Right.
then you're actually losing.
Okay, that's good. Now, I know, just kind of bringing this out, when I had mine in a diversified portfolio, I had a diversified portfolio. So at one point, the money was dropping out. I was losing.
Sure.
But the best thing, and this is correct, the best thing to do is leave it there, because eventually,
Well, before I got here, I said, man, I need to brush up on some things before I came here. So I said, well, what could I read? And I actually didn't read anything. I was actually on my email, but an article popped up about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the United States. And he was talking about the power of investing and power. I said, well, this is a good article to read before I came here. If you had $110 in the market in 1942, that $110 would be worth $660,000. 110 turns to 660,000.
That's amazing.
And now, what would that money be? It would be on the S&P 500, basically on the stock market. If you just took $110 and spread it around the stock market, meaning that you have a diversified portfolio, you didn't put it all in GM.
Right.
You didn't put it all in GE. You didn't put it in all,
You
but you just
diversified.
diversified in all these companies, you would have $660,000.
and one thing that's to remember, as I was just mentioning, sometimes that market may go up and down and you want to pull it out.
Sure.
But the best thing, what you say, is to leave it alone, right?
Leave it alone. The history of the market since 1929, and everybody knows 1929 is the Great Depression. The market has turned down probably 17 to 20 times since then. 17 to 20 times it has turned down, and it's gone down sometimes for 3 to 4 months. But what about the other part? Right? So since 1929, you're talking about 90 years. In a 90-year span, the market has dropped 20 times, and usually for 3 quarters. The rest of the time, it goes up because the value of the United States stocks continue to go up. And so we live in the United States. I'm pro-United States. You can, but here's the thing. Now you can do international stuff. If you don't want to invest in the United States stock, if you don't want to do the GE thing, if you don't want to do the Apple thing, you can invest in something in Thailand. You can invest in something in China. Now, those are more risky stocks, international stocks. They tend to go up and down. So you got to really know what you're doing when you're talking about that. But even if you just, once again, if you just talk about the stocks that you know, what's in your pocket? Samsung, the phone, right? The Samsung phone, the Apple phone, the things that you use. Amazon. Amazon stocks up 500% over the last 3 years.
Wow.
And we all use Amazon. So what we do, once again, we use these companies. We pay them, but we don't buy their stock, so they pay us.
Pay us.
If you just look around at what you do every day, the Chick-fil-A stock, the Amazon stock, Samsung, Apple, the same thing that we all use, you don't really need to do too much research to know what people are buying.
Right.
You know what people are buying.
Right.
Walmart stock over the last 20 years. Wherever you go and wherever you see people and you see that's what you buy. It's really
That's something.
it's really people overcomplicate.
Okay.
I wouldn't buy Sears.
Yeah, I agree with that. So now, you can just actually take these little smartphones and do some smart stuff with them and do some investing, right? Do that at the small.
I was in a conference in Las Vegas in 2007. It was October 2007, and Alan Greenspan was at that conference, and the market was in a terrible shape in October 2007. It had just taken a large loss. People in the banking industry were not in good moods. I had just got to Texas Trust Credit Union about 4 or 5 months earlier. And Alan Greenspan stood in front of, there was probably 3,000 people there, and he said, the United States economy will be okay because it always is okay. And there will be something, there will be some type of invention, there will be some type of electronic, there will be something that changes the world. And this is October 2007, and he says, I don't know what it is, but you can best believe it's coming. Well, Apple had just released the first iPhone the month before. So here's Alan Greenspan, the longtime chairman of the Fed, who was saying, I'm not sure what it is, but and it already had happened. We all already had one in our phone, in our pocket. And I went to, that same month, my grandfather unfortunately passed away. And we were at his funeral, the day after his funeral, and my son and my other son and my niece and my nephew all had these phones out. And they were all playing with their phone. November 2007. And I was like, why do these kids, and my kids were young at the time. My kid, I think I had one that was 14 and one that was 11. My niece was 9, my nephew was 11. I said, why do these kids have these phones? If I would have thought, I wasn't smart enough then, if I wouldn't have thought, I said, well, here you go. They telling me right now, these kids are having these phones. And now the kids lower than them had these phones. It spurred it on.
Right.
And so the people that saw it, as I referenced Apple before, the people that saw that are millionaires now.
Yeah, we need to be looking and using these phones, and that's not going away.
It's not going away.
It's not going away. My 10-month-old grandbaby was doing this on the phone and it just blew my mind.
You can believe
Like,
there's
what are you
some company
looking
out
for?
there, don't know who the company is, but Apple and Samsung have the market on phones. There's some company out there that's going to try to knock them off. There's going to be nobody's going to sit there and just allow that to happen. There's some company that's going to come in there. And when it happens, we all better be just aware of it. Not saying they're going to jump on whatever that company is, but Sony, somewhere like that, they're going to try. They're going to try. It's just like the PlayStation. Once again, a good stock. I saw my kids back in early 2007 playing with PlayStation. PlayStation 1 wasn't good enough. PlayStation 2, 3, 4. We did have a lot of people invest in GameStop. GameStop, a local company here. GameStop came up and they had this idea of getting these used games. And I thought, well, this ain't never gonna work. GameStop's double, triple, quadruple, because that's what was going on right there.
You know what I'm hearing while you're talking, and I'm thinking just about how I talked about the planning stage. Let's get it out of the planning stage and implementation stage, because your thing that you have that you're sitting on, somebody else is sitting on it too. They're working on it and they're going to implement this thing.
That's exactly right.
So you all have some awesome ideas, I'm sure.
So I'm probably going too far, but one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
You have to take a calculated risk.
Right.
You can't make money without taking risk. And when I talk to people, whether that's people at my job or whether that's people at my church, what I continue to hear people say is, Ron, I don't want to take no risk. My wife tells me that. She'll look at her 401k statement, she'll see it go down. I don't want to take no risk with my money. Okay, and then I take it and I shred her little statement and then I move on because she loves it for 11 months. Oh, it looks good, but that 1 month, oh, don't take no risk with my money. And then so you don't listen to it. We take risk. We go to casinos, right? We go to the casino. We go to Shreveport. We go to Oklahoma City. We go up to over to Vegas. We pay the lottery. We take risk all day long. But when it comes to money on a 401k, the first thing people say is, I don't want to take a risk. You have to take a risk, but you have to take the right risk.
Right, take a risk every day when they go into the gas station, buy a scratch off, right?
I can I can give you the education, you can go to the internet, you can find anything you want to know about that stock. You can't find out when that one-armed bandit's gonna pay off again. There's not enough research that you can do to figure out when it happened, but we will go do that and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars trying to do that instead of going to the internet and doing our research and finding out.
Well, that's some good information. Wouldn't you all say? Some great information. So now we're at the end of it. We're at the point where if you have any questions, now is the time. You know, it's not good to just go call your girlfriend about some financial questions when you have the money answer man sitting here, right? So let's ask somebody who's qualified to answer these questions. First question.
So analysts are saying that we are headed toward a recession at the end of this year or beginning of next year. What would you suggest we do to prepare for that? Like, how do we protect ourselves?
So every analyst out there, probably 99% of them say that at the end of this year, next year, we're headed towards a recession. How do you prepare for that? Well, you can do one or two things. If you are over the age of 60, 65 years old, then when you start seeing things go down, you need to pull your money and put it into something cash, all cash. You can put it into a CD, you can put it into a lot of different things that's all cash that doesn't go down. Because your time horizon is not very long. You don't have enough time for it to go down and come back up. If you are 25, if you're 30 years old, it's gonna go down and it's gonna come back up. And 4 or 5 years from now, it's gonna go down and it's gonna come back up. And 4 or 5 years after that, it's gonna do the same thing. The history of the stock market, for whatever reason, I've seen a lot of reports on this. I've never seen anybody actually be able to put your finger on it. The history of the stock market, for some reason, in the months of February and the months of October are typically horrible. Sometimes April. October is really the one. October is usually, and it even happened October 2018. October is a bad month for stocks for whatever reason. So I'm not a financial analyst. I don't play one, but I will say that at the end of this summer, going into this fall, I would be very vigilant to see. And if you have things, international stock, right? If you have things out there that you look at, and you can go on Morningstar. Now that is a website
I didn't know if I should say that when I wanted to.
I will give you Morningstar because Morningstar just gives you facts, right?
That's right.
You can go on Morningstar and you can find out a lot of people that have a 401k, they don't even realize what the 401k is in. So you have a 401k, you're investing in it, but you don't realize, you just see these letters. You see A, B, C, D, and A, B, C, D looks good. It went up 10%, so I put my money in there. Well, you need to go on Morningstar, type in A, B, C, D, and see what A, B, C, D has. And so if you see A, B, C, D has a lot of stock in companies here in the United States, you're probably gonna be okay. If you see A, B, C stock has some stock in other foreign countries, and you do some research on those companies and you see the value of those companies are going down, then you need to move your money. I would never tell anybody to pull out of the stock market. It's just about what you're putting it in the stock market.
Okay, that's a good answer. Because that's where I go is Morningstar to look for information for research on that. But because I'm not a financial analyst, I didn't want to say.
Morningstar is not. There's no opinion.
Opinions on there, right?
It is what it is.
Okay, yeah. All right, very good. Do we have any other questions? Good.
I have 2 questions. Is Dow Jones making any money these days?
Well, when you say the Dow Jones is the stock market.
Okay, are they making money?
The Dow Jones is up 25% in the last 2
Okay.
months, right? So depending on what kind of, like if you have a 401k, you can go to your company and you can just go, a lot of companies, it depends now, because every 401k is different, but you might be able to just go and just say, I want to invest in the Dow.
Okay.
And when you invest in the Dow, what it does is just invest in the market as a whole.
Okay.
If it goes up a lot, you go up. If it goes down a lot, you go down. You are just investing in the market itself, not in individual companies, right? So the Dow is what this lady was speaking of. If the market goes down, the Dow is what is in, that's what's in, might be in trouble.
Okay.
What people don't realize is even last in October, and you guys probably heard in the fall, the Dow Jones was down. The Dow Jones is down. It went from 26,000 to 25,000 to 24,000, and everybody's upset and everybody's
Panicking.
losing. Yeah, everybody's panicking. What you don't realize is that every single day somebody made $1 million.
Right.
There are ways to make money, and we probably won't have time to go into that now. But there are ways to make money, even when the market's going down. Right? So if Sears stock right now, and I don't know what Sears stock is at, but if Sears stock is at $5 a share, because it's going to be pretty cheap. If you want to bet right now that Sears stock is going to be $1, you can actually win when Sears loses. Now, it's a risky proposition when you get into that, and so like I don't really tell people to go do that unless you really have an investment advisor that knows what you're doing. But make no mistake about it, even when the Dow goes down, even when the market goes down, people make a lot of money.
Okay.
Because some people make money when it goes down.
Okay, so you do recommend going into the Dow?
Do I recommend going into the Dow? Well, going into the Dow, anytime you buy a stock, you're going into the Dow.
Okay.
Right? Anytime it's just about, the Dow is like the S&P 500. A lot of people don't realize what the Dow Jones is, right? The Dow Jones is just 30 stocks.
Okay.
The Dow Jones is just 30 stocks. They take 30 of the most stable stocks and they measure that. It's not measuring thousands of different stocks. They take 30 stocks, and based off that 30 stocks, they tell you whether it's going up or down. Well, what if you have a stock that's not one of them 30?
Okay.
That's just measuring that 30. The S&P 500, that's 500 stocks. That's just 500 companies. There's millions of companies, right? So you got to be careful of just watching the Dow or them talking about the S&P 500 because they're just talking about
Those specific ones.
some specific companies, and they remove companies out of that all the time. So GE is a company that was part of the Dow for years.
Okay.
GE was part of the Dow since 1910, 1915. They recently removed GE out of the Dow.
Okay.
So don't overemphasize the value of the Dow,
Okay.
of whether that means that it's going up or down.
So you should pick what you just gave us, some of the companies that you suggested earlier.
Oh no, I'm not suggesting any company.
That's why I'm saying I have a license to do that. That's why I'm not.
I don't want y'all chasing me down. Let's be clear.
And what if I
Stay in your lane, right?
last question for you. If I came to you right now and gave you $3,000 to be a part of your Texas Trust, what would you recommend me to invest in? Are y'all mutual and savings, or what are y'all?
So here's the real answer on that. If you gave me $3,000 tomorrow, I can't tell you that now.
Okay.
Because I don't know how old you are. I don't know how
Okay.
much debt you have.
Okay.
I don't know what other things you need to use that $3,000 for. I
Okay.
don't know if that's all your money or a little bit of your money.
Okay.
So any financial analyst, any financial planner, work through, and they all gonna do this. They got to get a full total. Anybody that tells you, if somebody tells you, hey, yeah, I know what you should do with your 3,000, you need to run, because they got to know you before they know your money.
Okay. Thank you.
Good answer. Go ahead. Next question.
First of all, thank you for being here and sharing with us. My question is, if you're midlife, should you go into the stock market when it's down to purchase?
Well, there's a thing that financial people say that when it's down, it's on sale. That's what they say. When the market goes down, the market's on sale. So I didn't even look today. Apple may be trading at $200 a share. If it goes down to $100 a share, it's on sale because most likely it's going to go back up,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so once again, I don't focus on whether it's down or up. Focus on the fact that you're not in. because you will lose money to make money. Yeah, it is a certainty. You can catch it on the right way and go up. You can put $1,000 in it tomorrow, and it may turn into $5,000 in the next 6 months. But you're gonna lose some of that money, and it's gonna go back up and down. You have, so don't focus on when's the best time, because it's never the best time and it's never the worst time.
Just keep in mind that leave it alone when it's doing that
Just leave it alone.
fluctuating, because it's gonna even out and you're gonna make, if you leave it in there long enough.
Sure, but you gotta get in.
You gotta
And
get
if you always worry about when that right time, it's like getting married.
Okay.
It's never really a right time.
Uh-oh, that's for another
I've been
show
married
now,
28
right?
years.
You're married 28, okay,
I can
that's
say that.
that's the next show. No, go ahead.
The other question that I had concerning that also is, because I have had funds in a stock, how do you know when to really get out? Because you say, keep it there, keep it there, keep it there, but at what point do you decide to move it? Like, do you go 3 or 4 quarters and it's still trailing off, or?
Okay, so once again, it has more to do with you than it has to do with that stock, right? How much money do you have other money that if you lost that, you'd be okay? Is that your life savings in there, all right? So it has more to do with that. You know, anybody that's gonna tell you that without knowing your picture
Right.
is not being honest with you, right? Because, you know, you may be able to stand to lose $1 million. I might be able to stand to lose $1. Now, if I can't stand to lose $1, I probably shouldn't be in there in the market, because like I said, it will go up and down. So now, but there's other things that, you know, that you can get in the market, like bonds, right? And bonds, as opposed to stocks, bonds is buying debt. So here in Grand Prairie, you can buy a bond, a city bond. They're gonna build a street over here. So what they gotta do is they gotta raise money. You can buy a bond, they'll tell you exactly how much money they're gonna pay. City bonds in cities that are expanding it's good money. It's almost guaranteed money. Now, you're not gonna get rich. You're not gonna make 10, 15%, but the city will pay you your money back, you know? So once again, it's just about what it's in. It's just about what's in and who you are. I can't tell you if it's a good time or bad time. I can tell you that if you're not in it, it's irrelevant.
Right. And for me, just with that type of question, what I did in that situation, I didn't pull out when it was down. I just did it because I lost for sure. So I waited for it to go back up to a certain point. I did have to wait a couple of years though. And when it went back up, I kind of moved it around. I diversified somewhere else.
Yeah, financial people tell you that if you pull your money out when it's down, all you did was just guaranteed your loss.
Right.
Right? So you had $100 in there, you watched it go down to 50, you watched it go down to 10.
Then you took it
Now
out.
you had the opportunity, if you leave that in there, you know it might go back up to 100. It might go to 200, but I gotta take it out. So what you did was just guarantee your $90 loss.
Yep.
You know,
So
that's why financial analysts will tell you just leave it alone. And matter of fact, a lot of them will tell you, don't be looking at statements every month. Because depending on what you have it in, you can you know, you be at the house one night and it's just you and it's, you know, dark, and you look at the statement and you think, oh Lord, it's all going, yeah.
yeah, that's bad.
Wild swings, you know. So
That's bad.
So an analyst will tell you it all depends on what your risk is, what your risk tolerance is. If you can risk losing it all, then you can put it in more risky things, which means you can make more money, but you could lose it all. If you don't have a high risk tolerance, then you can put it in other vehicles where you know I'm not gonna make a lot of money, but I'm surely not gonna lose it. That's the great thing about a mutual fund, which people don't realize what mutual funds are to begin with. All mutual funds are is a group of stocks. So instead of saying I'm gonna go buy Apple and put $10,000 on Apple, what you do is go buy a mutual fund and Apple's part of it, but there's 10, 12, 13 other stocks in there too. So even if Apple goes down, Amazon's in there. You know, or like I said, Samsung may be in there, or you may have an oil and gas company in there. So mutual funds in your 401k, that's why they are so much safer than just going and buying a stock, because it's a group of stocks, and it would have to take all group of stock to go down for you to lose your money.
So that sounds like a good thing to do, mutual funds. And when it's going down, I recall losing like 11,000 and then waited some years later, went up 20,000. So it'll fluctuate. But just if you leave it alone, you'll do better.
But you can't, when it goes down 11, you can't take it out. And then
No,
say,
so I was
okay,
like,
now,
no.
hers went back up 20 and I'm still, then I go back in here. That's what's called market timing.
Right.
You just try to time the market.
Yeah.
That's almost impossible.
Yeah, you
It's
can't.
almost impossible to do that.
Can't do it like that. Okay, any other questions? We're gonna take another question.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, I was actually preparing myself to actually purchase my first house this year. But then after looking at the market and everything, we decided to wait until next year, with the recession. So my question would be, how does the recession affect like interest rates and like if the banks are going, how willing are they going to be to lend?
So let me ask you this, you said you decided to wait. You decided to wait because of the interest rates or you decided to wait because of the price?
Because of the housing market. Because I'm like, okay, if the recession hits, the prices of the homes have to drop. So I'm trying to see, is it still worth it to wait? Because I don't know about the interest rate. I'm just kind of getting into it and researching. So I'm like, let me ask a professional.
So the pricing of houses, the most important thing about a house, right, is the interest rate that you're paying, not the price that you're paying. You could be looking at a $300,000 house, and let's say they dropped it, putting up all of a sudden the $300,000 is now, let's say that house is now $275. But the interest rate that you could have got was 3.9, now you're paying 6. You just lost, right? So when you look at the housing market, the pricing and the interest rates are divergent. If the price goes down, that means something wrong's happening. If something's wrong happening, then credit unions and banks are going to tighten up on lending. When we tighten up on lending, we make the interest rate goes up. And so by not buying a house, you may get a better deal, but you may pay more for each dollar that you borrow. So you have to be really careful about waiting, especially in a market like Dallas-Fort Worth, where thousands of people are moving in here every day. In Dallas-Fort Worth, what is driving the price up is how many people are moving from the north and the east. Even if recession hits, that won't stop. It actually may increase because jobs up in the north, in Detroit, places like that are moving and closing, and jobs are actually coming down here. So be careful, because sometimes when there's a recession, depending on what market you're in, some things are recession proof. And housing is more about supply and demand than it is about recession.
Well, one good thing is you're in a great area because the Dallas area and the Texas area actually is one of the best in marketing for residents and purchasing a home. Is one of the best places. So you almost can't go wrong right now.
Almost can't go wrong. Almost.
Almost. Can never say never go wrong, but you can almost can't go wrong.
So, I've been following Dave Ramsey,
No, you're good person to follow.
and at a point pretty much where I want to know the best place to park my emergency fund. And in the process of looking, definitely am from Texas Trust, been that way for a couple of years, for a while.
Well, we appreciate that.
Appreciate you guys. But one of the suggestions was put your money into a mutual fund. Excuse me, not a mutual fund, a money market, money market account. Mutual funds as well, but money market account. And in the process of looking for these money market accounts, I know it's not to be trying to make a bunch of money or whatever, but I can't quite find anywhere that is safe in my opinion, outside of online. You have all these online banks and everything offering 2.5% and all that. But as far as just like even with Texas Trust, the money market account is not really too much different than Chase Bank regular savings account. What is a good suggestion place to place the money? I know you gave a suggestion on the 401k, but what's the best place that you know of as far as just parking your money but making sure that it's legal?
When you say parking it for what? For what purpose?
Parking an actual emergency fund.
So you would continue to have it liquid?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you wanted to have liquid, then there's one or two things. A money market would be fine because the money markets are guaranteed. right? It's either FDIC guaranteed or, you know, so the federal government guarantees money markets, whether it's at a bank or at a credit union, the money is guaranteed up to $250,000. A money market would be fine, or very short-term CDs, CDs that roll over, a 30-day CD, a 90-day CD, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to find a money market and or a CD short-term like that that's going to have more than a 2%, maybe a 2.5% rate. But you are making 2.5%. There's nothing wrong with that, and that does keep the money liquid. There is nothing wrong with having some money in a money market and some money in a 401k. It takes two hands to have a fight, and so it's good to have both.
Hey, some great questions and some awesome answers. Thank you, thank you. So we're just gonna have time for just one more question. If anybody else has a question, it's just gonna be one more and we are done. Any other questions? So I think we have all the questions for today, and I'm pretty sure they had some great answers there. I saw a few people taking notes. Good, thank you. So really want to thank you so much for being here today,
Most
Ron.
welcome.
Let's
Most
give him a
welcome.
hand for all these answers. So we're excited about the information that we received. I know some of us are going to take action on Monday, if not this evening.
You got to
So
be in it to win it.
That's right. So we're going to remember that. You got to be in it to win it. So if you're not, you already lost, right? Okay.
Sure.
All right, so I'm excited that this is the end of our show. This is the end of our Boss Moves with Naomi show. And we're just really excited to have Mr. Smith with us here today, giving us this information. And our next show will be on the fourth Sunday in the next month. So every fourth Sunday, you can meet us right here at 3:30. And we will have a guest, and you will be able to do the same scenario, an awesome guest that can answer your questions, someone who is qualified to answer your questions. I only bring qualified people to the front of this stage, all right, to answer your questions. So we appreciate having Mr. Smith here. Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you very
Smith. Been
much.
a pleasure, been a pleasure. Well, you know, I always say when I end my show that yes, you can do, you can be, and you can have all that God has planned for you. And my friend, that's a boss move.
Hopefully it worked out fine.
Oh, it did. We're going to upload